Hello everyone, welcome to Urbanscape Bangalore. And today's episode will be different in that the video will not have a scripted narration, but you will listen to my running commentary instead. So this series will cover some random gardening things that I otherwise do behind the camera. So in this video, you will first look at my snake plant Hanhii repotting, then we will look at the monstera cutting updates which I promised I'll show you in another video. And finally, we will repot a floribunda rose. So let's begin. So what I'm going to do over here is I have this Kryptanthus plant and I have this aloe coral fire. So these two are in this beautiful container and I don't want to use it outdoors and waste it. I want it as an indoor planter. So what I'll be doing is I need an indoor plant obviously. So I'm using the Sansevieria or the Dracena as it is called now, Sansevieria Hanhii, or the snake plant Hanhii. Bird's nest snake plant is also another name of this plant. So anyway, there are two rosettes. So I'll be using these two rosettes in these two containers and I will place it next to the Buddha and it will probably look good. So for that, first let me remove the Kryptanthus and the coral fire. So the coral fire has grown really well and the vigor is really amazing. And the Kryptanthus, you can see a little bit of, I think it's gotten a little more of sunlight and it's kind of bleached. So this is a sign for you to move this indoors or in a very shady location. Now let us remove the Hanhii. So it's done excellently well and you can see that there are pups growing. And you can see the tuber or the rhizome. Right, so you can just easily split this. This is a very forgiving plant. So I just need two, right? So this will go into another container. And this is how easily you can propagate your snake plants. No matter what type it is. They just create beautiful pups and you can just separate them. So this is done. Now you can use the old container as is, there's no problem. It is anyway well draining. Or if you want, you can add some new potting mix if you want. So I'll keep it as is. There's no harm in that. And then I'll first check the level, right? So if my finger from this level till here touches the rim, then it is still okay. But if the height is still here and if I do this and my finger comes out of the rim, then it's a bad height. So you'll have to remove a little bit of the soil and then plant it deep inside. So this is how it is done. And then so like that I've repotted these two snake plant Hanhiis, and this is how you can rejig your garden. I mean, you don't really have to be fixated on one plant in one container, and you don't have to really maintain status quo. You can always mix and match things. You can always change the vibe of your plants and planters at the same time. Now since this is done, we'll move it aside. And then for the Kryptanthus and the aloe coral fire, we have these two containers. So I've purposely taken a wider container for the Kryptanthus is because they give out a lot of pups, and I really need pups from this because I just have one plant and I love this plant, and I obviously need more pups. So for this you can use a well draining mix. So if you want to learn more about the Kryptanthus, you can watch my earlier video and the link is given above. Okay, so you can use a very well draining mix like this. So it's just 50 percentage sand and 50 percentage coco peat. That is it. So you can use that. And for the Kryptanthus, I'm going to add a little bit of cow dung as well. So I have this decomposed cow dung which I can use, and it's an outdoor plant, so you can use a lot of manure and things like that. Indoor plants, I would still avoid using a lot of manure and things like that. So this is well decomposed cow dung. You can use that. And here what I'm going to do is I'm going to plant it towards the corner so that when the pups come, the pups can grow and there's a lot of space. So you can grow this in the corner and then compress it little so that the roots are well bound with soil. So that is it. This arrangement is done. Next we have the aloe coral fire. Again, see, for both of these, the aloe coral fire is giving out new pups. So both of these plants don't require a very tall container. So if you have a very small container, you can use that as well. But the wider they are, the better it is, because these are very broad plants. And now I'll be doing the same thing with the aloe coral fire. Add the potting mix. It should be a very well draining potting mix. And I've also made a video on the aloe coral fire, and you can watch it by clicking the link above. So make a hole, make a deeper hole so that most of the roots get covered by the soil. And then this is an excellent plant. You can reduce water. You don't have to overwater this plant, and it will really thrive both indoors and outdoors. So outdoors, what will happen is the color of this red color will be more prominent. So that's the difference between the normal aloe veras and the aloe vera coral fire. So I had this earlier container, so I'm going to grow this in the same container. Now poke 2 holes because we have 2 plants. So you can cover the roots with extra soil. So the only thing that is left is to water these plants. So a lot of you were very happy that I used a coconut shell for watering these plants. So it was not a concerted effort, it was just there available next to me. So I decided that I would showcase in the video. It was not a very concerted effort to portray any kind of eco-friendliness or anything, but yes, some people liked it, and well and good. So just water the plants. So now each of these plants will go to each of their locations. So in this segment, we will be looking at the propagation of Monstera. So you would remember a video which I had done earlier, and you can watch the entire Monstera care video above. And in that I had propagated some of the Monstera cuttings as well as the leaves. So let's look at what's happening with this. Slowly pull it. As long as you don't hear a snap, everything is fine. So you can see it's rooted so well, and it's formed such big roots in just a short span of time. So this is one, and this was the other one. So let's pull it again very slowly, and you can see the root system of this cutting as well. So excellent. Now what I have been really waiting for was the leaf cutting. This was not the leaf cutting, I think this is just the stem cutting. I think the leaf cutting didn't work. So that's a damn squib, but yeah, the rest of it worked. But it does work, has worked with my pothos, so don't give up. You can take leaf cuttings and propagate your aroids as well. I'll put this back again. I'm not repotting it as of now. Let it grow a little bigger, and then we'll see. So that's how easy it is to propagate your Monstera Adansonii. And this will be the last segment of this random gardening episode, and we will look at repotting this particular rose. So this, I think, is a floribunda. Any rose that has flowers at the apex and they are clustered together like this, these are floribunda types. And it has a very faint rose smell, but it does not smell like the damask or anything. It's not as fragrant as that, but yes, it's very beautiful. Now it has almost dried, so I'll have to snip off all these spent blooms as well. So one thing really good about the roses is that it will bloom really well if you snip off the old and dead blooms like this. So deadheading is very important when it comes to keeping your roses blooming. So for the repotting, I'm using this concrete container, and it has a hole over there. So you can either do this, or you can skip this, or you can just keep a drainage material and close the hole so that the soil does not run out and only the water runs out. So here I'm just going to add some gravel. You can skip this part, it's not very essential. So I like this aquifer concept of drainage in containers, so I'm just going to do this. Now let's remove the plant. So just give it a nice squeeze when you're removing. The one thing that you need to remember while repotting is the soil must not be too wet. Okay, so if you water the plant before 7 to 8 hours or even 6 hours, that is perfectly fine. You must not repot immediately after watering the plant, because it will be very difficult to hold the root ball, etc. So it's always good that you give a little bit of gap between the watering and the repotting. So let's and also remember one thing, that the container size should be one size bigger than the older container. So there should be some gap between the old container and the new container. So that's the whole logic behind selecting a container. So a terracotta container is obviously better, but since I have this and I can't go out and buy one, I have to do with this. So now place the plant inside slowly. was a little harsh over there. So once you place it, you can backfill. So the potting mix that I'm using is 2 parts or 3 parts sand, 2 parts uh, 2 parts of coco peat, and 1 part goat manure and cow dung. So goat manure, cow dung, and all these manures are really good for your rose plant. So roses do really well in organically rich soil, especially manure. Right? So it gets a lot of nitrogen, and all these manure helps your roses fight back diseases and pests, etc. So, but do not add a lot of manure, and do not add fresh manure. Always add old aged manure. So that is one thing. So it's done, the repotting is done. Just remove the soil from the central portion. So the only thing left is you have to water this particular container, and you can deadhead the old blooms so that all the energy is focused on root production and on getting acclimatized in this particular container. And you must add water in such a way that the water must flow out of the container. So the first time you water the plant after repotting, this is what you should remember. So by watering enough, what you're doing is you're just coaxing the plant to do well in the new environment and the new planter. Now let's pamper it a little further with a haircut. So just cut off all the dead blooms, and while cutting you have to remember that you have to go really down and then cut it. If you want, you can cut the entire flower stalk. So this plant, I think it becomes pink, and then as it grows older it turns white and then it dries. So you can cut this off as well. Yeah, I think we can leave this, it's fine. And that is it. So you can keep it under shade and then maybe reintroduce it to full sun the next day. So I know some of you like such impromptu narrations, which I call my talking voice, and some like the more planned and scripted narration, which I call my speaking voice. Now, no matter what the voice is, I hope the right gardening message has reached your green ears. So with this, we've come to the end of yet another episode of Urbanscape Bangalore, and I really hope you enjoyed this particular program. Additionally, you can follow me on Instagram and Facebook. The links are given below. Thank you for watching, and until we meet again, a very warm goodbye.